Hello and welcome. It's Japan, and we have a nice match tier list here for Marigold First Dream. It was last night, and it was a chock full of wrestling night last night. I don't think I've watched that much different wrestling in so much time because it was Marigold started at 11:30, and I was watching that. And Stardom started in the middle of that, and I had that up on the second browser, going in between watching both when, there was space in between it. And then Marigold ended and went in straight into DDT, which I've never watched before. So I watched that all the way through. So we'll be having a video on that one for my first ever DDT matches. So I got all three coming for you. They're all going to be coming today. So look out for them. I'm recording them as we speak. It's going to probably be for video day again, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. So the first first stream, yeah. See, Marigold and Stardom's ones are so close. I'm gonna probably say the wrong one. This one was a stacked card. I obviously thought this was going to be really good, and I think in a lot of ways it delivered, in a lot of ways it didn't. Some outside stuff happened in some of this too that changed it, but I think overall, we're going to just jump right into it. So the first up was the New Year's Dream Rumble. The problem I think that I had, at least originally with this match, was one, I didn't know the rules. I didn't know if it was like a Royal Rumble or a Royale or whatever it was. But eventually, we figured it out because I watched this with French Rice. So, he we were trying to know what this was. So essentially, once everybody got in, then you could eliminate people over the top or pins. The pacing was a little off with that because it felt like, like it was a lot, and then it was like nothing. I think they had some pretty cool people come in that were like outside. Flying Penguin was the first time seeing them. The girl from Ice Ribbon who ended up winning it, hadn't seen her before. I hadn't seen like a lot of these people, and a couple of the people I noticed, like the one girl from Stardom and stuff, was it was a pleasant surprise to see those people. But overall, I'm gonna have to give this the worst of the card at a D. I just feel like the wrestling there was just, it wasn't there. They didn't have that many spots. They didn't have much they were doing. And then when they finally actually got to the elimination parts, it was just kind of all over the place. I think it could have definitely either worked by having maybe one more big name in it, or just kind of maybe less people. Like a 10-person Rumble might have worked a little bit better because they would have actually had some good times to set up some back and forth. But I think the problem also was me. I just didn't really know anybody, and none of them like stood out being like, yeah. Yuka, who ended up winning, I thought was still pretty cool. Um, I think she did a really good job. I didn't really know her. It was just it felt like a very long match too. I mean, it was 20 minutes long, but like it still felt pretty crazy. Next up, we had the debut of, I think her name is Suri, Seri. I think it was Suri. I'm not 100% sure. Against Murray. This match absolutely cooked. It was super slow at the beginning, which made a lot of sense because they were going to grapple. They were going to get in there because this is our first ever match. And Murray was like a perfect person with her. They were like perfect dance partners. Um, they just had that really good back and forth, and then it went straight to a time limit draw, which I thought was like, oh, that's a clever, pretty decent way to have it. And then they asked for more time, which I've never seen happen. Which I'm not really used to draws because it's not really a big thing in WWE, but in Japan, there's a lot of that matches that end that way. So I was like, that's kind of cool that they asked for an extension, a sudden death extension, which added like another 7 minutes. So that was a long match, and they went back and forth really nicely, even in those last 7 minutes. That just was all over the place. Those suplexes were beautiful for both sides, and Murray with her finisher, wow, looked really nice to finish it off. I definitely think this was an A tier match. I think it's one of those matches, if you run back in like 6 months, it's going to be easily an S tier match because they had the chemistry. It was just, obviously this is her first ever match. She was gassed, but she looked good out there. So I'm really excited to see where she's going to go because this was a great first match. First up is our first of 5 title matches, which was insane. Everybody, like, thought some of these titles could change. We didn't expect 4 out of the 5 to change. All Marigold titles changed. I think the fresh reset is a cool idea. I have no problem with that. I was very down with most of the title changes. I would say the tag team titles, when we ever get to that, I wasn't really that big of a fan on. And I do like Mika Ono as the United title holder. Is it United? Yeah, United. So yeah, this is for the Superfly Championship. It was a good striking match. I think Victoria's like seeing her for 7 months ago when she debuted for Marigold to now, it's just completely different. I also thought it was very interesting that we noticed that everybody who had new uniforms or like new outfits that were challengers won. I mean, obviously all the challengers won, but they all also had brand new outfits and designs and hair and all that. So that was kind of cool to see that they got a big change. Because yeah, I was tired of seeing Victoria in the same outfit every single time, basically. So that was kind of cool. I think this was one of those matches that I think it was just like a perfect match between the two. I don't think it could have necessarily been an S tier match for me because it was just one of those matches where you weren't going to have a super amount of flash, but you were just going to have a solid wrestling match. And I think A is perfectly acceptable for matches like this. It obviously was also up higher in the card. I think it definitely could have gone lower, and I think it would have worked. It was just like, I think between these two matches being back to back, it felt like a lot longer time. I think if they would have had something in between it would have worked a lot better. But it went from like a really solid, 25-minute match right into a long. I mean, like it felt long for 13 minutes for this match, but it was still really, really good. So A tier, I think it's easy to put there. Next up, we had the tag team championship match, which I didn't know who Tank was. I mean, it was one of those things. Like even when I did the prediction video, I was just like, I kind of defaulted to the champions because I just didn't know who Tank was. Seems like she's gonna get a huge push here because of a couple different things. One, because Bozilla and Tank win the tag team titles, and then Tank does seem to be the first in line for the world title, which is kind of crazy for somebody who literally is either just signed with Marigold or signed just very, very recently. So overall, this match was nothing special. It was like a good. They had a couple good big man spots because Bozilla and Tank have just like that strength, big giant choke slams and slams in general. I definitely think Bozilla deserved this title. I definitely would have wanted her maybe towards like the United title or something because I think she's a really good solo act, and I think she's really good in the ring. Like she has some really decently good big moves. This match felt a lot longer. When I saw that it was only a 7-minute match, it felt longer than that, and maybe the times are a little off from the thing I'm looking at because 7 minutes sounds insane. But I think overall, it was good. I don't think it was anything too special. I'll put it in C. I think it just felt like a very weird title to flip right when the tag team titles have just flipped. I don't know necessarily why they did that, but I would have rather them have like a legit tag team that had been built up to lose to than just a random pairing of people. So that happens. So next up we had the Passion Sisters versus Miko and Yuna. Obviously, the two biggest ones being the two older ladies that were both on the retirement tour type things. This is my actually first Miko match that I've ever seen. Like, I know she's really big, but I've never really. Every time I've ever seen like a match or like that she's part of, I never had a chance to watch it, or I missed all the time that she was in NXT UK. So like I'd never seen her in a match. She did solid for her age. I mean the match itself I thought was okay. It went back and forth pretty well. I think probably being the youngest one. I wasn't even sure who she was necessarily, but I think they all got a good spots in. I definitely think they're leading for a solo match between the two that are retiring, which I think will be probably a lot better than the tag match. I think they were just kind of like there to try to get their pacing, but I think this match suffered for being way too long too. I think they could have definitely cut off a couple minutes, and I think it would have been probably a better match. But it felt like there was a lot of filler that didn't really do much of anything. So I'll put it in C. I feel like the tag team title match was slightly better, but they were both deserving of that C spot. So next up, we have another title match. This was for the GHC title with Kakoi and Goto. I always get her name wrong. This match was unfortunate because it seems like our champion tweaked her knee during the match, and I think that's why the match ended up being a lot shorter than it needed to be. It was only like 8 minutes, which I think it was supposed to be like 15-20 because of like basically the pacing of the rest of the show and how the show ended like with nice 15 minutes to spare, I think, from like the 4 hour mark. So I feel like that probably would have filled up that, and I think they did a bunch of stuff in between to fill up other times when they didn't really need to. So I think that's kind of where it went. I definitely think it would have been a little bit better. Honestly, the match was, solid in its 8 minutes. I think the time limit would have probably made it a little bit better. So I'm gonna put it in C. It was just unfortunate for the injury, and hopefully it's not anything too serious. And she asked for a rematch, so I'd be kind of cool to see this one again, as almost like a trilogy because they've had some matches together. So I don't see anything bad with this. Next up, we have another title match, the Ono versus May title match for they put it the UN title, so I think it's United title. I always get that one confused. This match was actually really good with a lot of crazy spots, like the Styles Clash from the top rope, and then a Styles Clash when on the mat where she kicked out at one. It's just badass. At that point, I was like, Ono's in some trouble because you cannot have all of that. The pacing at the end was just really good. Like when they really fired up for the last like 4 or 5 minutes of the match, that was just chef kiss. And yeah, a submission ending after all of that was kind of wild too. I thought that was kind of a crazier end to it all. So I would definitely put it in A. It definitely could have had a little bit more. I wouldn't even say like is the weird thing with submissions is when they obviously these two are really good strikers and really good like kind of just crazy moment things. I really think I know they did like the submission to try to get the pacing down a little bit, but I think they could have just either got rid of that and made the match a little bit smaller or had them do other stuff in that time, and I think it could have edged into that S tier. So then let's go to the main event, Sari versus Utami. This is honestly one of those matches. It's 22 minutes long, and they use every minute of those 22 minutes to do something. Like everything, even the spots outside had purpose and stuff, and every inch in that ring, every minute in that ring was worth watching. Your eyes were glued to this match. Like I just didn't even talk. I just watched and saw the masterpiece unfolding. This is absolutely an S tier. It was just overall the best match of the night. I think almost by far on anything I had watched. And I think overall the show itself would probably be in that B range, a B plus. I would say. I definitely think it suffered by having that Rumble in it. I think they could have definitely done something a little different there, as if that would have been there and maybe one of these tag matches, and then the other, obviously this championship match I think would have cooked a little bit better. We could have had a card that more pushed towards A and stuff, but I think overall it's still a really good event. If you haven't watched it, I would definitely recommend these top 4 matches. If you're only going to watch a few of the matches, if you're going to watch this card in general, I think it's worth the watch. Even the matches that are here towards the bottom still have entertainment value. There's still good spots in the Rumble match. There's still good spots in everything else. So it's a good match to watch. And if you haven't watched Marigold, this is one you definitely should catch up on because it's going to be a nice changing of the guard type thing too, with having 4 new champions. I think that will really have a new era going into this new year. So if you're fresh to Marigold, this is the time to jump on the boat and watch it because, yeah, it's looking good. So, till next time, it's been Japan. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me if you guys watched it. Tell me if you guys are excited for Marigold's future year, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.